$2,790 is how much money it cost me to build this right here. And while I know that doesn't seem like a lot of money, that's actually 40% of what I purchased this car for. So almost half of the purchase price of this car was spent on modifications for the car. So I'm sure you're also asking, well, what was the purchase price? And that was $7,000 back in 2021. So over the past 3 years, I've managed to spend about half of the price of this car in modifications, and that also doesn't include certain maintenance things I've had to do to this, like changing out batteries, spark plugs, ignition coils, things like that. So now we can go into specifically what sort of modifications are done to the car. And I think first we should start off with the trunk. So this trunk I was able to get for $100, and that came with the STI wing, the pair and spats I think is what they're called, everything all included in one package, and it's not in that bad a condition at all. Still has everything on it. It's basically stock. The only thing is that they put the STI wing on it and they added those inserts, but if you look at it, it's not in bad condition at all. So for $100, it seems kind of like a steal to me. So I thought to myself, I have to go pick this up whenever I saw it on Facebook Marketplace. Now, if we drop down a little bit, you'll see here in the rear that we have my rear diffuser, and this was from Strafe Designs, and this was only $200, but it adds a lot of aggression to this rear end. And to get to our next mod, we have to unlock the trunk here, and we can see our dual 12-inch subs. And we're also going to bundle into this the speakers that were replaced in the rear and the speakers that were replaced in the front, like a whole sound system overhaul. And the price of all of that was $305, but most of that cost did come from the subwoofer that I chose. I think if I ever had to do it again, I would not choose two 12-inch subwoofers. It's a little bit too much. I never have the system fully turned up the whole way, so kind of seems like maybe it was a waste of money. If I was in this position again, I would get a smaller one. The speakers in here though are Kenwood, and I think I would choose them again if I had to. They were a relatively good cost. I think they were about $60 for the front, $40 for the rear. It was really not that expensive, and they sound amazing compared to what the stock ones were. If we sit down in here, along with the sound system upgrade, I decided to get an Apple CarPlay Android Auto head unit. This used to have one of those single DIM Bluetooth ones, but I decided that Apple CarPlay or Android Auto was something that I could really use in this car, and it really modernizes it a lot. It's so nice to just have your phone automatically connect to it, and whether you're running like directions or music or anything, it syncs up so well. And it adds a backup camera. And I would say the cost of this is fairly affordable considering all the functionality you get with it and all the use that you get with it. I think if I had to buy another car like this, I would for sure put another one of these smart head units in it again. And this only costed $280, 40 of which was from the backup camera, so you could even save money if that was something that you didn't care about. And now we will travel down here to my Cobb shift knob. I had a white one in here before that came with the car, but I bought this black one because I figured it matched everything else so much better, and this was $90, almost $100 for a shift knob. Is it nice and, you know, feels good? Sure, but I don't know. Paying almost $100 for a shift knob to me seems fairly excessive. The things that we do to just make our cars look perfect are wild sometimes. As I'm sure you can tell, this car does have tint on it, as you can tell from all of the windows here. And this was surprisingly only $90. It is a pain to install it yourself because I don't really like putting tint on. I hate working with it, but I think the result and the money saved was really worth it to me, and it did come out looking pretty good. This was my only mistake right here, and it just started peeling a little bit. Now, the last thing on the interior of the car that I actually touched was these dash lights. Now, I feel like maybe it could seem a little bit tacky because it's blue, and I don't know, I feel like some people might have mixed opinions about how it actually looks, but I think it actually looks pretty decent. It doesn't exactly match the color of the car, but it's still blue. And the fact that I only paid $10 for it means that in the future, if I ever wanted to, I could always put some different lights in it or change it out to something else. So for $10, could it be considered rice? Maybe, but I actually think it does look pretty decent. Now let's look at a more recent modification, which is the wheels and tires, and I gotta say I am extremely happy with them. It was so hard for me to decide on what type of wheels I wanted because, you know, wheels aren't cheap, and it's not like I'm gonna be swapping them out or anything. I kind of just wanted to pick one pair and keep it on. So it was really hard for me to choose between something like a 5-spoke wheel and these 10-spoke wheels, but it just so happened that there was a sale going on for wheels and tires, and I decided to pick these up because they were a really good price It was only $1,200. And I want to say these are a 17 by 7 or 17 by 7.5. And it's wrapped in a 225 by 45 R17. I got a really good deal on mostly the tires. The wheels were kind of the same price as they always are, but overall, $1,200 I feel like was not a bad price at all to pick these up for. Now I know it doesn't look slammed. I like to call it functionally dropped, and that was with the help of some lowering springs, and those were only $150. It was a pain in the ass to replace. I think I would just buy coilovers if I had to do it again. But it did give the car a decent drop. It has a little bit more of an aggressive stance, and whenever you're going around corners and stuff, you can definitely feel the difference in performance. But the amount of time that it took to actually rip the car apart to be able to change those springs out, especially in the rear, you have to pull out the whole back seat because the top hats are up here to be able to get to these rear wheels. I would say maybe in the future, I would just spend the extra money and get coilovers because I'm thinking about getting them in the future anyway. It just wasn't in the budget currently, but I think if I had to do it all over again, I would just save the headache and get some coilovers. I'm just gonna have to end up doing the whole process all over again. Should have just saved myself time in the past. Now we got a bit of a controversial mod, and that is my hood scoop. On camera, I think it's a little bit more noticeable that the color is different from the actual car, but in person in the light, I think it's a lot less noticeable. And the hood scoop I had bought on eBay, and the paint, I forget where I bought it from, but it was really only $20. So the whole thing to get it repainted and get the new hood scoop and everything was only $100. And you know, it looks pretty good from about 5 feet away, and that's kind of what I was going for. You know, you can kind of tell this isn't really a show car or anything, is in need of a new paint job, but I think it helps add some aggression to the front end, evens out the back with the front, and the hood scoop that they put on these 02 models was just so tiny. Now onto these Spec D headlights. They were $250 and they're really sweet. They have got these super cool daytime running lights, which I know you can get on some other pair of headlights for these cars, but I just really liked how these ones look because it's a bug eye. Still kind of looks like a bug, you know? So you got these halos here, you got these 3 lights right here, and you got your low beams and your high beams. I just thought they were really cool, and I really am a big fan of these lights. Now on to our final mod here is this smoked side marker. I really wasn't a fan of the stock orange one that came on this car, and I guess other people weren't because they made smoked versions online that you could buy. And the price of this was only $15, so I would consider that money well spent because the casings of the headlights are kind of smoked. This is kind of smoked. And as you can tell, the Subi is kind of going for a bit of a black and blue theme, which I'm a big fan of. And I think it really helps tie this whole car together. I do think though that I want to get some smoked taillights for the rear because I don't know, with the black and blue theme of the whole car, it kind of seems out of place having these red taillights on there. Maybe I need smoked taillights. I don't know. Leave a comment down below of what you think would look good on the rear of this car. But that's really all that I've done to this car for the time that I've had it. Other stuff that was already on it, like the Stage 2 kit, these side skirts down here, and the previous owner also replaced the sway bar links and the sway bars. So all in, I'm really under $3,000 at $2,790, which brings the total, I guess, cost of this whole entire build to $9,790. And I think for that price, I actually got something pretty good. I feel like I'm fairly happy with how the look of this car is right now. There really isn't much that I would change besides something like STI swap or just more suspension and handling mods. So I gotta say, I kind of hold this thing near and dear to my heart. I feel like it's hard to say a build is ever complete, but I think this is definitely at a point where I'm very satisfied with how it looks. Of course, that excludes if we're talking about how the paint looks on it. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think maybe I overpaid a little bit? Maybe I got a good deal on some stuff and you think that it was actually more expensive looking than what I said. And if you think there's any other modifications as we walked around the car that you think you would do differently, or something that you would like to add, change, you know, whatever, leave a comment down below of what you thought. But that's all that I got for you guys in today's video. Thank you so much for checking it out. I hope you enjoyed looking over the build, seeing how much it costed, and drop a like if you did, subscribe if you enjoyed it. We'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.